Glad to know you're still with us. Now, a recent report by Budgit, a civic accountability organization, has shed light on the varied fiscal performance of Nigerian states in 2023. The report, State of States 2024, reveals a complex picture, with some states excelling in revenue generation and fiscal management, while others struggle with debt burdens and limited resources. Key findings from the report include significant disparities in revenue generation across states, while states like Lagos and Rivers have demonstrated strong internal revenue generation capacity. Others heavily rely on federal allocations. The report highlights the need for states to diversify their revenue sources and improve tax administration to enhance their fiscal sustainability. Inibong Usen, Head Research and Policy Advisory at Budgit, joins me for more on this. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, good morning, and thanks for having me.
All right, thank you so much for joining me today, Inibong. Now, first, I'd like to begin by, looking at the key findings in the 2024 State of States report. What are the key findings for you?
Yeah, thank you. So the key findings, if you look at revenue, and year on year, that's looking at what the states were cumulatively able to generate last year compared to this year. There was a 31.2% increase in the cumulative revenue of the 36 states from about 6.6 trillion naira in 2022 to about 8.66 trillion naira in 2023. It was also that the states were equally able to increase the IGR, the cumulative IGR, year on year as well, even though it was just about 6 states that were able to raise their IGR by more than 50%, with Zamfara, recording the highest increase, amongst the 36 states. But cumulatively, the states were able to raise their IGR by 20.33% from about 1.82 trillion naira in 2022 to 2.19 trillion naira in about 2023. But what we also saw was that there was an increase in the FAC dependence by, the states from what it was last year. So about 32 states depended on, FAC transfers or FAC receipts for at least 55% of their revenue, while about 14 states depended on FAC receipts for about 70% of their total revenue. Now, if you look at the recurrent revenue as well for the states, that's the FAC receipts and the IGR put together, it's a bit more bleak. So about 34 states, are dependent on the FAC receipts for about at least 62% of their total recurrent revenue, while 21 states relied on FAC receipts for at least 80% of their total recurrent revenue, as the case may be. Then when we come to the expenditure side of things as well, there was also an increase with regards to the cumulative expenditure of states. This year also looking at health, because the focus for this year's State of States was, moving the healthcare delivery across the subnationals from suboptimality to optimality. And so we looked at certain, expenditure lines with regards to the health sector. And we saw that for the states put together, the allocations and spending on healthcare with specifics to whether it was with regards to the procurement of medical equipment, the procurement of, medical supplies, and the construction and rehabilitation of hospitals and primary healthcare centers still left a lot to be desired. We still saw that cumulatively, quite a number of states put together still, had liabilities, whether it was with regards to what was owed to contractors, what was owed in pensions and gratuity or other staff claim, to the tune of 1.19 trillion naira cumulatively. And with regards to debt as well, even if there was no significant increase in the value with regards to foreign debt, but as a result of the devaluation of the naira from 899 naira to the dollar as at December 31st, 2023 to June to about 1,400 naira to the dollar in June 2024, the cumulative debt of the 36 states grew by about 2.74 trillion naira. So these are highlights of the report, but I do know that as we delve further into the conversations, we'll be able to reveal more.
All right, so let's delve right in. We saw Rivers, Lagos, and Anambra standing out in terms of fiscal performance ranking. Now, some might be wondering, you've said so many things, whether it's the IGR or, I mean, a lot of indices were put into this, but help us unpack what this is about, and then if you were really impressed by their performance, or you think they had some factors that just sort of worked for them.
Yeah, thank you. So if you look at the methodology of the state of states, there were about 5 indicators as the case may be. With the first indicator, we try to see how states can meet their operating expenses. That's if you are speaking to the salaries, pensions, gratuity, the overhead cost, and their interest on loans with what they are able to raise internally, as IGR, whether it's with regards to non-tax revenue or tax revenue, as the case may be. The second index, looking at Index A1, looks at the year-on-year growth of, the IGR of the states. With the third index, we try to see how states can meet their operating expenses and loan repayment obligations with their total revenue. Total revenue in this regard refers to what comes in from FAC, their IGR, and what they get as aids and grants. The fourth index is a mini composite index made up of 4 indexes that looks at the sustainability of the states.
Let me come in here, please.
If you look across all of the indexes on Index A, for those states that performed really well, which is the Lagos River State that you had referred to, those states were able to meet their own operating expenses with just their IGR, and there was some left to meet up their interest on loans, and then the capital expenditure, as the case may be.
Okay, so I would like us to sort of look at the common challenges faced by those, the bottom-ranked states, whether you're talking about Bayelsa, Jigawa, and Yobe. And I also remember asking you a question earlier. Can we actually say that these states did something different, or it's just about the fact that they already had some foundational issues or stuff working for them, whether it's their position or something?
No, some states have, successively, increase their IGR or their domestic resource mobilization capacity year on year. So if you even pick a Zamfara state, for instance, that had the highest growth with regards to IGR year on year, you would see that for personal income tax, they were able to grow their personal income tax by more than 100% year on year. If you look at what they were able to generate from licenses, fees, there was a lot, there was a lot of improvement by the state year on year. So I would say that some states have made efforts to ramp up IGR, using different approaches, as the case may be. Kaduna used to be the star boy in the last 2-3 state of states, and that's because there was a deliberate attempt by that government to digitize revenue collection. They deprioritize, cash, collection as a method of collecting whether tax or non-tax revenue, and a lot of monitoring with regards to what was collected was done. And so we see that in a number of states, some states like Edo have also adopted such systems with regards to tax collection across board. So for a number of states, there have been attempts, to ramp up IGR collection, but there's still a lot that can be done by the states, as the case may be. So if I come back to the second part of your question as to why the states that did not do well didn't do much well. For those states, the domestic resource mobilization capacity is still very low in those states. What they're able to generate as tax and tax revenue is still below the capacity or the potential of those states. It's also that the states also have, high operating expenses compared to what they have the capacity to mobilize. So if you look at a state like Bayelsa, for instance, even if it has one of the lowest populations amongst the 36 states, it has the third highest operating expense. And so for states like that, to be able to do better, you would either need to prune your operating expenses, whether it's with regards to the reduction in the cost of governance, or you need to ramp up your IGR to the point where it can take care of your operating expense, as the case may be. There was also a priority by states that did well with regards to prioritizing capital expenditure over recurrent expenditure. For some states that didn't do so well as well, less priority was equally placed on capital expenditure when compared to recurrent expenditure. So all of this put together, place the states where they ranked on the State of States Index.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Inibong Usen, Head Research and Policy Advisory, Budgit, for your time and your thoughts on Business Edge today. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and have a lovely day.
You too.